Welcome to Trashmagination, a podcast about reimagining trash. I'm Carla Brown. In today's episode, we'll talk about the creative reuse of bubble wrap. Bubble wrap was originally invented as a type of textured wallpaper in 1957. The first prototype was made by pressing together shower curtains with air bubbles inside. The product did not sell as wallpaper, but a few years later, a marketer realized it would be a great cushion for shipping. In 1959, it was put into the packaging for early computers by IBM. The website Packaging Technology Today says that bubble wrap sales increased by 7% in 2018. The global bubble wrap packaging market is almost $11 billion US per year. A big part of this growth is due to the increase of people shopping from home. So let's talk about ways that you could creatively reuse bubble wrap. As always, I made a Pinterest board with many of these ideas, which you can access in the show notes. Step 1 in reducing bubble wrap is to reduce buying fragile items online. Is it possible to instead support a local business? If you receive a product wrapped in bubble wrap or similar packaging, consider contacting the company and asking them to use paper-based shipping packaging instead. If you still have too much bubble wrap, you can offer the padded envelopes or bubble wrap on your local Buy Nothing group on Facebook. I posted about 15 padded envelopes, and they were quickly taken by someone who ships items for her business. I also brought bubble wrap and packing pellets to a local UPS store, and they were quite happy to take those items for reuse. Danny Seo is a creative reuse and upcycling personality, and he has a video where he talks about giving his bubble wrap to his local thrift stores so they can package up the breakables that sell. If your local shipping company and thrift stores say no to your bubble wrap, then the most important thing to remember is that it should never go in your recycling bin. Just like plastic bags, bubble wrap will tangle around the equipment and cause the recycling machinery to stop working. They will have to turn everything off, climb in, and clear out your bubble wrap, delaying how items get recycled and increasing the costs of recycling. So just like plastic bags, you could put your bubble wrap in the containers outside most grocery stores where they accept plastic bags. The company Sealed Air was the first one to produce bubble wrap, and they have a website about how to recycle bubble wrap, and they will accept any of their packaging for recycling if you mail it to them. But that's a lot of work, so I recommend putting it in the plastic bag recycling near you. Of course, you need to make sure there is no tape on the bubble wrap. Now let's look at ways to upcycle bubble wrap into crafts. The bubble wrap crafts that I like the most involve making painted prints. You paint on the bubbles, and then you lay down a piece of paper or fabric on the paint. Bubble wrap can be used to mimic any repeated round design, such as honeycomb in a bee's hive, raindrops, snow, or scales on a snake, fish, mermaid, crocodile, or dragon. One crafter made dandelion seed heads by painting white circles on bubble wrap. Each little dot of white paint became a dandelion seed. For homeschoolers teaching about insects, you can make a representation of a compound eye from a housefly. You just print out a really big clip art picture of a fly and then print with bubble wrap to represent the many facets of the compound eye. Cassie Stevens is an art teacher in Tennessee who hosts the podcast Everyday Art Room. She talks a lot about creatively reusing materials in her classes. In episode 88 on sculpture, she talks about making sculptures of glue bottles from shipping pillows, those little air-filled pillows that have replaced bubble wrap in some shipping recently. Each year, Cassie has a school-wide art show, and last year the theme was art supplies. Her fourth graders made sculptures of glue bottles, and they made those by wrapping shipping pillows. They added a little piece of white yarn to the orange tip to represent the glue spilling out. Other students made pencils, crayons, and glue sticks from toilet paper rolls. Another fun use of bubble wrap is to make a mold for homemade soap. You can make soap that looks like a honeycomb by using bubble wrap. Some soaps also contain honey, which would be a nice tie-in. There are many crafts which involve ironing plastic bags, and the result is like an extra thick, strong plastic bag. These same techniques work with bubble wrap. When you iron bubble wrap, the resulting fused plastic looks sort of like mother-of-pearl shells. The bead designer Stephen James wrote a tutorial for how to make bubble wrap jewelry in the book Jewelry Upcycled, and his tutorial is available online. You just iron layers of bubble wrap inside parchment paper, and then you can punch it out in whatever shape you want to make jewelry like bracelets or earrings. Jen from Epbot punched out snowflake shapes to make really pretty earrings. Bubble wrap is similar to fabric in many ways, so it has been used in many trash fashion designs and Halloween costumes. Here are some Halloween costume ideas to put in your idea file. Martha Stewart made a jellyfish costume from a clear umbrella and bubble wrap. You can make Marge Simpson's tall blue hair from bubble wrap. You could dress up as a frog egg mass. You just wrap yourselves in bubble wrap and then put a toy frog on your shoulder. This idea comes from Callan Bentley, an assistant professor of geology at Northern Virginia Community College. And you can also make a set of wings for a bee or fly costume from bubble wrap. Next, we'll talk about artists who incorporate bubble wrap into their work. One of the coolest bubble wrap artists is Bradley Hart, who makes pointillist paintings by injecting paint into the bubbles. He takes an image like a famous painting or photograph and he pixelates it on his computer. He then mixes the exact colors in paint and injects the colors in the correct order into each bubble to make the whole image. He preloads thousands of syringes with the colors he needs. He also displays the back of his paintings in his shows where you can see drips of paint coming out of the injection spots. The backs look like a warped or impressionist version of the front. Alicia Wee paints bubble wrap, but not by injecting into it. She paints the surface of the bubbles. Her art reminds me of the paintings by Roy Lichtenstein, which were like a comic strip panel that was blown up to a huge size, with all the little dots from the printing process. She paints with really bright colors and mostly portraits. The design firm Lo Siento played with injecting liquid into the bubble wrap, but instead of paint, they injected colorful water. They made letters, resulting in a really cool font. They called this 4D art because it can be viewed from so many angles. Next, let's talk about fashion designers. Helmut Lang made a bubble wrap jacket in his Spring-Summer 2003 collection, and Moschino more recently included a bubble wrap dress in their Fall 2017 ready-to-wear collection. Suzanne Jongmans also made clothing from bubble wrap, but it was not current fashion. She recreated many medieval and Renaissance clothing styles with bubble wrap and other shipping materials. She recreated the pose and appearance of women in famous paintings. It makes you look twice, because first you think it's a classic painting, but then you see the bubble wrap. In 2012, Makoto Orosaki made huge trees from bubble wrap. He worked with many students to make a whole woodland in a museum. First, they made trunks from cardboard covered with plaster, and then they layered it with bubble wrap to create textures. And sometimes they would melt the bubble wrap with heat guns to make new textures. Luca Nizu is an eco-social designer who recycles many different types of materials, and his current project involves making storage containers from padded envelopes. He was a finalist in the Row Plastic Prize for 2019 with his designs. The Row Plastic Prize is a contest to inspire designers to use recycled plastic. Thank you for listening. So here's a question. Which way should bubble wrap face when you're wrapping a fragile item? Should the bubbles face in or out? Most websites seem to say that the bubbles should face in to best protect your item and because it's easier to tape the flat side than the bubble side. But I read that some people put the smooth side in to avoid having the imprint of bubbles on their product if it's a book or clothing. What do you think? Please let me know your thoughts at trashmagination@gmail.com. Until next time, may you see bubble wrap as a source of art in your life.